For my holistic health discussion, I chose to look at healthy weight and fad diets and how we can use that to better educate our patients. So a high amount of body fat can lead to weight-related diseases and other health issues. According to the CDC, a body mass index, or a BMI, is a screening tool to estimate weight status in relation to the potential disease risk. BMI is a person's weight in kilograms divided by the square of height in meters. At an individual level, the BMI can be used as a screening tool, but is not to be diagnostic of the body fatness or health of an individual. The BMI only looks at weight and height of an individual. Things such as age, gender, and body build are not taken into account, but can impact the weight and therefore the BMI. Several people, especially of lately, have been kind of bucking the system as far as BMI goes, just because it's kind of an old school way to do things and is very stuck in a height and weight and does not look at other factors. But another way to estimate your potential disease risk is to measure your waist circumference. Excessive abdominal fat may be serious because it places you at greater risk for developing obesity-related conditions such as type 2 diabetes, high blood pressure, and coronary artery disease. A man whose waist circumference is more than 40 inches or a non-pregnant woman whose waist circumference is more than 35 inches is connected to a higher risk of developing obesity-related conditions. Another tool that people use is ideal body weight. The CDC does not recognize this as a route to measure healthy weights or as a method of guidance, but many practitioners, individuals, find that it's more inclusive than the BMI is. So fad diets are defined as a diet that is popular for a time without being a standard dietary recommendation and often promising unreasonably fast weight loss or nonsensical health improvements. So as you can see in the image here, many people start a diet which then decreases caloric intake and creates a famine response, which causes a loss of weight from lean muscle and fat. It reduces metabolic rate and increases fat storage. Many people find these diets to be too restrictive, or they take a day off for an event and they eventually fall off the plan, which then in return causes a feast response with an increase in caloric intake. This then reduces metabolic rate, loss of muscle, and regains the weight from fat. This is repeated over and over again. You fall into this diet, you try it, it's too restrictive, and you end up falling back into your old habits, often gaining more weight than where you originally started. So for my presentation, I decided to look at several different common diets, especially ones that I've heard of in clinic, just give a general overview of them and how we can assist our patients. So the first one is the keto diet. It works in the way that it's a high-fat, very low carbohydrate diet, which means that most individuals eat less than 50 grams of carbs a day. Many people on the keto diet track net carbs, which is your total carbohydrates minus your grams of fiber to equal your net carbs. It does allow some fruits, such as berries, but really focuses on meat, fats, and vegetables. What does it promise? It gets most of your calories from fat, forcing your body to use a different energy pathway. So instead of carbs being used for energy, the body burns fat, which puts you into a state of ketosis. Some of the upsides are, while the precise mechanisms are unclear, ketosis is thought to have brain protecting benefits. As many as half of young people with epilepsy had fewer seizures after following the diet. Some early research suggests that it may have benefits for blood sugar control among people with diabetes. There is very little evidence to show that this type of eating is effective or safe over the long term for anything other than epilepsy. Plus, very low carbohydrate diets tend to have higher rates of side effects such as constipation, headaches, and bad breath. So the second diet I looked at was the Whole30 diet. It works for 30 days. No sugar, alcohol, grains, legumes, dairy, or treats. They're not allowed. So participants eat moderate amounts of meat, seafood, and eggs with lots of vegetables, and then small amounts of fruit. It markets as a reboot for eating habits and cravings. Melissa Hartwig, the founder, claims that eliminating these food groups may help with a number of ailments they blame on food sensitivities such as skin problems, digestive issues, low energy, and chronic pain. So for some people, a black and white list of rules stating what you can and cannot eat makes it easier to follow, at least for those 30 days. The growing popularity also makes recipes easier to find. Cutting out snacks and processed foods such as chips and crackers as part of the plan can be beneficial on many different levels. On the other hand, however, Whole30 is very strict. The internet is full of anecdotal success stories. There's no scientific evidence of health benefits, especially in the long term. Most people do return to their previous eating habits after completing the challenge. The third fad diet I looked into was intermittent fasting. So there's two different common approaches to intermittent fasting. One is to eat very few calories on certain days and eat normally on the other days. And the other involves eating only during certain times and skipping meals for the rest of the day. So for example, some people will eat for the same 8 hours of every day and go 16 hours otherwise if not eating. So even with free eating periods, fasters tend to take in fewer calories overall, which results in weight loss. In addition, many people believe that intentionally depriving your cells of calories may slow the progression of certain age-related diseases. Some people find it easier to have bulletproof willpower for just a small amount of time and to eat rather than eating in moderation all the time. There have been a couple of small studies that have found lower blood sugar, blood pressure, and cholesterol levels with fasting. On a larger long-term basis, there haven't really been any studies, so the proposed benefits are really theoretical or animal-based research in nature. The last diet I decided to look at is the anti-inflammatory diet. While there's no single anti-inflammatory diet, the single approach is a balanced diet full of fresh, wholesome foods. It calls for a lot of colorful fruits and vegetables, whole grains, fish, tea, and even dark chocolate. Eating whole, unprocessed, largely plant-based foods is thought to fight chronic inflammation and help counteract stress and environmental toxins. In return, it is thought to lower your risk of heart disease, cancer, and Alzheimer's. The plan does include a lot of fresh fruits and vegetables paired with whole grains and omega-3 fats. It proves to be a well-rounded, wholesome diet. The downsides of it really are learning to prepare fresh plant-based foods can be time-consuming and difficult for individuals, especially someone who relies on prepackaged foods or fast food, which would not fit in these guidelines. So what does this mean for our patients as well as us as practitioners? Each diet has its upsides and its downsides, but it's important to encourage our patients to eat an overall healthy diet that includes all the food groups and really focuses on whole foods. It's important to educate on not completely cutting out different food groups, as they all have their different benefits, unless, of course, someone has a allergy or something along those lines. Using a food diary or food log app may help provide guidance and allow for increased understanding of how food adds up throughout the day. Following a template such as MyPlate, which is a government-based program, this one that I used is a little bit different but follows the same idea. I felt like it was a better visual. Really encourages the use of fruits, vegetables, whole grains, drinking water, having healthy proteins, and using healthy oils for cooking and such. It's important to assess your patient and see where they're at. Encourage at least 30 minutes of healthy exercise 5 days a week. And a lot of people struggle because they feel like they can't have their favorite things or their treats, but allowing them to have those quote unquote favorites, but in moderation. So rather than having it once a week, having it once a month or something along those lines. The other thing that I really run into is cost. People think that eating healthy is very expensive, but between food assistance programs and the use of fruits and vegetables in both cans and in the frozen section allows the necessary things to be more affordable, and everyone allows most people to be able to eat healthy. It's always really important to kind of laid out for your patients and how much they're spending on fast food or on unhealthy choices, and showing them ways that they can incorporate fruits and vegetables into their meal without substantially increasing their grocery budget every month.